Welcome to the Ad Nauseam podcast, where classical gourmands everywhere can finally get their fill. Join us for a delectable discussion of Greco-Roman civilization stretching from the Minoans and Mycenaeans through the Renaissance and right down to the present. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here are your hosts, Dr. David Noe and Dr. Jeff Winkle.
Welcome, Ad Nauseam listeners, to episode 190 of the Ad Nauseam podcast. As always, my name is Dr. David C. Noe. I'm down here in the bunker, the Vomitorium. I guess it'd be Vomitorium Central, with my good friend and fabulous co-host, the wonderful Dr. Jeffrey T. Winkle.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing today, Jeff?
I'm feeling good, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing well. What does the T stand for?
I believe the T stands for triage.
Triage.
I think you wrote that down.
Well, because last time you said, I don't like to prompt you, but last time you said you could never think of what's supposed to go in there.
True. No, I should say I'm very appreciative of you.
So the triage, right? You're taking in the classics, but not all of them,
no.
Right? You're exercising some discretion.
Exactly. Well, what about the C there for you?
Yeah, I think the C this week stands for calibrated.
Okay, explain.
Well, I love philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
I love poetry of the Ovidian type.
Yes.
I like history.
Yes.
But you have to calibrate your interests to the occasion.
Gotcha. Right.
To be a classical gourmand is to be somewhat omnivorous.
Yes.
Because the menu is packed with delicious things.
Indeed.
But you have to calibrate your appetite to the circumstance.
Gotcha. So your calibration and my triage, they're related.
They are.
Yes.
They just begin with different letters and are spelled differently and have different meanings. One's a noun and one's an adjective.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. I'm feeling good. You're
good.
Doing all right over there?
Yes, I am.
All right.
I'm doing really well.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to this episode where we're going to be talking about the beautiful game, I think.
The beautiful game.
Isn't that right?
Soccer?
Yeah, I thought we were talking about the jerseys that people wear for playing the beautiful game. Socrates? Is that what we're talking about today?
Oh, did you? Is that yours?
What?
Did you come up with that?
Yes.
That's actually not bad.
It's pretty awful.
No, we're not talking about Socrates. Socrates.
Not
we're talking about
Socrates?
Socrates.
Ah,
There we
okay.
go. Yes.
The
Right.
great
right.
Athenian philosopher.
Right.
But before we get to that,
Yes.
we have a shout out.
Yes, we do.
This is one that just warms the heart.
Indeed.
Unbelievable. You want to get us started on this?
Yeah, this comes from one Caitlin Moore, way down, probably about as far away from here as you can get,
I believe so.
in Sydney, Australia. And she writes, "Hi, Dr. Noe and Dr. Winkle. My name is Caitlin Moore. I am 27 years old and currently work as an ambulance dispatcher."
No, I like that.
That's sounds like a stressful job.
It does sound stressful, but also I think it would be very interesting because after you dispatch the ambulances, which I don't think is like dispatching a foe in the sense that Achilles dispatched Hector.
Right.
You dispatch an ambulance, but then it just comes right back eventually. And you got to dispatch it again.
Exactly. Well, in Australia, they're famous for boomerangs.
Oh, I see.
So
the boomerang ambulance
right,
service.
Exactly.
Okay, keep going, please.
She continues, "I recently discovered your Ad Nauseam podcast, and it has been brilliant. I started learning Latin in year 7 and continued my studies through the University of Sydney. I have my parents to thank for sending me to such a religious school where they only offered Latin and French for languages. Since university, I had fallen out a bit with Latin, only coming back to it now and then when I would visit my high school Latin teacher in the Blue Mountains and read a bit of Virgil."
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, fantastic.
I had to look this up. I guess there are Blue Mountains in Australia. We have our Blue Ridge Mountains.
Yes, right.
I'm guessing these are quite a bit larger, but
Yeah.
I suppose you can drive out there and read some Virgil. Doesn't that sound really
That sounds
fascinating?
very idyllic. Yeah.
It does.
You want to keep going there?
Oh, sure. Otherwise, I could just interrupt you at every sentence. She says, Caitlin says, "I've now been inspired to go back and read some of my favorites and try out some new ones too. I have started translating Ovid's Metamorphoses, and it has reminded me why I fell in love with classics in the first place. I just wanted to thank you both for your wonderful podcast and for everything you do. Next on the horizon is tackling ancient Greek. You will always have my support from down under."
Man.
That's great, isn't it?
Yes. Thank you so much, Caitlin. That's really, really nice.
We got that one fellow, Tom, down under, who's
our nemesis?
Yes, living, well, mine at least. Now he's yours too.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of living rent-free in my head.
Yeah.
But now we get some support from Caitlin.
Right. So it balances out.
Absolutely. Thank you, Caitlin, for listening. It's so sweet for you to send us these kind words.
Yes.
And we hope that you enjoy your dispatching, your study of Virgil and Ovid, and keep going great like that.
Excellent. Yes. And best wishes going ahead and learning some Greek. I really
Absolutely.
hope you get into that. Yeah.
That's right. So now, Jeff,
Yes.
we have to turn a little bit of a sour corner here.
Oh, no. What did we do?
Well, I think those were the candies that you get at the At the movie theater, aren't they?
The sour turns?
Sour corners?
Sour corners, right.
No, this is not a corrigendum, which would be bad enough. It's a pronunciandum.
Oh,
how it's supposed to be pronounced.
I see. Well, it sounds kind of like a corrigendum.
Close enough.
All right. And so this comes from Will Fitzgerald.
Will Fitzgerald.
We've heard from this guy before,
yeah, he
haven't we?
strikes again.
Yeah. Yeah, so he writes, doing a little research using that Google thing you mentioned, already a little snarky.
There's a little bit of snark.
I'm reasonably sure that the first syllable in Witcherly rhymes with witch.
Okay.
So that's right. So I think I had
with Weischerly,
Wisherly,
Witcherly,
with Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah. We offered a few, hit a few bum notes there.
That's right.
Sour corners. So apparently it rhymes with witch. He writes, this is how scholars have pronounced William Wycherley's name. And also how interviewers pronounce the name of modern sports people who have this surname. I've never encountered an athlete.
I've never met someone. You remember when Wycherley won the World Cup? I don't.
Yeah.
Or the star quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles? I don't.
Yeah, Jimmy Wycherley.
That's right.
Right. But he does end with this. I thought this was interesting. So I'm curious what the most common mispronunciation of Noe might be.
Most common mispronunciations of Noe.
Yes, I'm sure you've encountered people.
Well, there are two that are probably the most common.
Yeah.
The first is people like to say no, and the second one is they say donkey head. So those are the two that
Really?
that tend to dominate mispronunciations.
When my kids first saw your name written, they pronounced it. Oh, you have a friend whose last name is No.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's the Bond thing, Dr. No. Right.
Oh, right. Exactly. Which you can lean into. That's good stuff.
But they think that it's a pun, right? No E, but there is an E there, so they like to bust my chops for that one.
Right.
So,
I rarely get Winkle rarely gets mispronounced, but people will often see it and assume it's Winkler.
yes, I've seen it printed in a CAMWIS program. Remember the Classical Association of the Midwest and South?
Was I Winkler in there?
No, you were Dr. Winky.
Winky.
Yeah, that's CAMWIS for you.
I should have saved that program for the wall. Yeah.
So, Jeff,
Yes.
we're ready to get started here.
We are.
And a special treat for this episode and maybe the next one, we're finally going to tackle Plato.
So after 189 episodes,
Yes.
Some might find it strange that a classically themed podcast would have left Plato untouched for this long. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to apologize for it.
so
There's
to
so many other
speak.
things to get to. But
Yeah, but there are some reasons for it.
Yeah.
I guess partly, and that part of the reason would be I have a little bit of specialty in Plato. I did not write my dissertation on him, but we have to pick special authors, right? And I've mentioned this before. Some special author for Latin was Cicero. Special author for Greek was Plato. And
Yes.
I've loved Plato a long time, but I'm a little apprehensive.
Yeah.
Because, I'm kind of a wannabe philosopher, more trained as a classicist.
Yeah.
So you wade into these waters, right? You better have your swimmies wrapped around your biceps.
Yeah.
You're going to have some trouble.
Yeah. No, this is these are the big guns, right?
That's right.
That's right. So in my own background, I never Plato was not a special author or topic for me. However,
Right.
The aspects of the Roman novel and Appius that I'm very interested was the Middle Platonic and
Right.
Neoplatonic interpretation. So I am more familiar with what Platonism became,
Right.
and perhaps less grounded in kind of the foundational stuff itself.
Right.
So I'm interested, but also a little wary
bit of that apprehension.
of digging into it as well.
Yeah,
yes.
so Apuleius, just can you remind me?
Yeah.
He's middle of the 2nd century
Exactly.
AD?
Yep.
Okay, so he's writing his poetry at the kind of the pinnacle almost of the Neoplatonist movement.
Exactly.
And that's going to be a nice segue into the volume that we're using as preparation for this episode. And that is a Plato Reader, published by Hackett, edited by C.D.C. Reeve, with translations by Reeve and others. So the introduction to this work is phenomenal, and we're going to use it to frame our discussion as we get into the nit and the grit. I also like to point out, Jeff, that our podcast, as you know, is giving away a copy of the Plato Reader. Now, it's in paperback, but
Right.
it's a beautiful volume. So we're going to give away one copy of a Plato Reader to a lucky listener, but you need to listen until the end of the episode in order to get the special key word, the code word.
Indeed.
So you want to stay tuned for that.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a great book.
Absolutely. And the book has an incredibly concise introduction to the thought of Plato and Socrates as we get into the Apology. So I'd like to read just a few excerpts here of what Reeve says in order to set the table for what's coming up.
Please.
So he says, Plato was born in Athens in 429 and died there in 348 to 347. So by my math, he lived, quite a long life, some 70 years. His father, Ariston, traced his ancestry to Codrus, who was supposedly king of Athens in the 11th century BC. His mother, Pericles, was related to Solon, architect of the Athenian constitution. While Plato was still a boy, his father died, and his mother married Pyrilampes, a friend of the great Athenian statesman Pericles. Plato was thus familiar with Athenian politics from childhood and was expected to enter it himself. Partly in reaction to the execution of his mentor and teacher Socrates in 399, he turned instead to philosophy, thinking that only it could bring true justice to human beings and put an end to civil war and political upheaval.
So he had quite the pedigree.
He did.
Yeah.
A who's who of Athenian politics and aristocracy.
Right.
It's like being related to the Kennedys, the Bushes, the Clintons,
Yeah.
and everybody else.
Right. And I would also point out, so he was born in 429, so he's basically born
Correct.
in the throes of the plague.
That's right.
Right near the beginning of the Peloponnesian War.
That's right.
So born into a time of comparative turmoil.
Great turmoil.
Yeah, and so Socrates, and so we'll be dealing with start digging into the Apology today. So
Right.
the trial of Socrates, which takes place in 399, which would have made Plato about 28 years old when this was
That's
going
right.
on. Yep,
And
29. Yeah.
right, Reeve continues. This is an important point. Few ancient authors have been as lucky as Plato. His works, which are predominantly dialogues, we're going to return to that in a minute, all seem to have survived. All of his works.
That's crazy.
They are customarily divided into 4 chronological groups, though the precise ordering, especially within groups, is controversial. So we've got early dialogues, transitional, middle, and late. And one of the questions I get asked sometimes, actually it was just a few weeks ago, is how do you know which one is an early dialogue? How do you know which one is a late dialogue?
Yeah.
And Reeve gives an answer to this, but the basic idea is if it's early, then you have the voice of Socrates trying to solve a very difficult intellectual riddle of some sort, but not getting through to a solution.
Yes.
So
Yes.
So those are the aporetic.
Aporetic, right.
You can't make it to the end.
And as I understand it, the general notion is also the earlier the dialogue, the idea is that the more historically grounded
Right.
they are, right?
Yeah, that's the assumption. I mean, it could prove false.
Yeah.
Because we do have other resources on Socrates. We have Xenophon in particular. But in the later dialogues, especially the very late ones, like the Timaeus and the Laws in the last group, you have Socrates monologuing like a Marvel supervillain, for page after page.
Yes.
So the notion of an actual dialogue, it's pretty much been dropped altogether.
Right.
And they're long speeches.
Yes, exactly right.
Do you remember your first encounter with the thought of Plato? I assume that it was in an undergrad philosophy course?
It was that I think at the institution we both went to, I think it was
Right.
Philosophy 153.
That's correct.
Yeah, and I remember reading.
Do you remember who taught that to you?
I had it with Kelly Clark.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Who was a colleague of ours for some time as well.
That's correct.
How about you? That's where
Well,
I think
I want to hear... Yeah.
We read the Apology,
Right.
And I think we also read the Euthyphro.
Yes.
And maybe something else, but I don't remember.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you remember what impact it had on you?
I remember reading the Apology, and to this day, I found myself much more fascinated by the story
Yeah.
of it and kind of what Socrates was going through and why,
Yeah.
rather than the thought promoted there.
Yeah.
But and so
That's a basic difference between us, isn't it?
it is, yeah.
Temperament, character, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
Personality?
preferences of kind of what grabs you, right?
Yeah.
But what about you? I mean, what do you remember?
Yeah, so it was in Philosophy 153. It was again with John Hare, who was a fantastic classicist at Balliol College and philosopher. And I didn't do very well in that class, but it was, I don't know, it was incredible. It was like having a bucket of Gatorade dropped on your head or something.
Do you remember being aware of who Plato and Socrates were before college?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was just thinking about that. I would have known the name.
Yeah.
Plato's a Greek philosopher, but that's it.
Yeah.
Because there was no internet. There was no YouTube.
No.
You couldn't go watch this or that college, this or that famous philosopher lecturing. I probably would have been very interested in those things.
Yeah.
I think at age 15, 16, I just knew the name. That was it.
Same here. And nothing that I mean, this is not a criticism, just an observation, but nothing that I encountered in high school touched this at all.
Yeah, I may have been apt previously to criticize, honestly, a high school that did not teach Plato. But I may be revising my opinion a little bit along the lines of, yeah, it's a thinker everybody needs to know, but high school might be too early.
I think that's the sense, right? So
I don't know.
You're not ready for Plato until you're kind of past high school. I don't know, but
I was absolutely enthralled with. Again, we read the Apology, we read the Euthyphro, and it was taught to me so well. I assume Kelly taught you well too.
He did, yeah.
If you don't have a good teacher for this kind of material, it can be very hard to appreciate.
Indeed, exactly. Yeah.
And then one semester we had again John Hare for a course on Plato and Aristotle's philosophy. And so then we did read some more of the Apology, and I read it over the interim, the January term. I read the Jowett translation of the Apology, but I really wanted to be ready for the Greek, so I think I read it every day for something like 15 days.
Is that right?
Well, yeah, because I wanted to make sure that the basic outlines were so clear in my mind that I couldn't mess up.
You were putting in the reps, man.
I was putting in the reps.
So that second class with Hare was in translations. It wasn't
yes, but then there was a reading group of those of us who had some Greek, and he met with us. And,
I see.
And went through some of the Gorgias. So I got to read the Gorgias in that class, bits of the Republic Book 4. The Meno, and then I repeated that in grad school.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's great.
So it was an excellent introduction. So what about Socrates? Here from the introduction provided by Reeve. This is also extremely helpful. I'm amazed that 5 pages of this introduction is a very accurate and helpful introduction to all of Platonic thought.
Yes.
Can you read some of that, Jeff?
Sure.
It's at the bottom of page 7, I think, in the introduction?
Yeah, so Reeve writes, Socrates is the central figure in most of Plato's works. In some dialogues, this central figure is thought to be, and probably is, based to some extent on the historical Socrates. As a result, these are often called Socratic dialogues. In the so-called transitional middle and late dialogues, however, the central figure is thought to be a mouthpiece for ideas that go well beyond Plato's Socratic heritage. So I think it's worth pausing here to, if our listeners are not familiar, is that Plato is overwhelmingly our source for who Socrates was.
Yes.
Right? So we have Xenophon, who
that's right.
who left behind some memories of his
the memorabilia Socrates,
right?
Things like that.
And then we have Socrates showing up as a comic character.
Yes.
In Aristophanes' plays, most notably The Clouds, which is actually mentioned in the Apology.
Yes.
But other than that,
and a lot of late stuff too. But the late stuff is probably largely based on Plato.
Right.
So I was reading in preparation for this, maybe he'll get a quote. I was reading a very famous book by Gregory Vlastos entitled Socrates, Ironist and Moral Philosopher.
Okay.
So he's developing this notion of the irony of knowing he alone is the one who knows that he knows nothing.
Right.
And therefore he has some actual real knowledge. And Vlastos spends a good amount of time explaining the reception of Socrates in the work of Cicero and other Roman philosophers. So filtered through 300 years of Stoicism. The main point that he establishes, which we're going to have to look at as we get into the dialogue, is that Socrates is the author of a certain kind of ethics. And this is the ethics that's based on the notion that the goal of human life is happiness. So it's called eudaimonist, from eudaimon, as you know, meaning happiness, or eudaimonia.
Right.
So I can't usually pronounce it that way because I want to say eudaimonia, the Greek pronunciation.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Too affected. People are going to be mispronouncing my name if I do that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So eudaimonist ethics is the idea that the goal of human life is happiness, and Vlastos says Socrates is most significant for fixating on that. And I think that's one other way that you can trace a little bit the development of Socrates as a character from the early dialogues to the late. The early dialogues are primarily about ethics. The Euthyphro, right, is something holy and good because the gods love it, or do the gods love it because it's holy and good? Which one of these is it?
Right.
And then the Apology, likewise, primarily about ethics. There's a little bit of epistemology, theory of knowledge, but these are the primary concerns. Then as Plato develops his character Socrates in these other dialogues, we get all kinds of stuff like politics and epistemology and geometry, it really expands from that initial character.
Right, exactly. And I would also add that all of these other schools of thought that branch out, Stoicism, Epicureanism, right? In some ways, at their root, they are also very concerned with the notion of happiness.
That's right.
And so, again, it's something very easy to say that the goal of human life is happiness. Well, what does that mean?
Right.
Just having all of your material needs satisfied, or does it mean something like that ataraxia, which comes later, that kind of that state of calm?
Yeah.
What does it? What does Socrates actually mean when he says, eudaimonia? What is that state?
Right. Yeah. So the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, once more, such a reliable and free source, says the distinctive feature of eudaimonist versions of virtue ethics is that they define virtues in terms of their relationship to eudaimonia. A virtue is a trait that contributes to or is a constituent of eudaimonia, happiness, and we ought to develop the virtues, the eudaimonist claims, precisely because they contribute to eudaimonia.
Okay, now that sounds very circular to me.
Okay.
Right, so can you break that down?
So why should you pursue something like honesty? Or to take the 4 classical virtues, why should you pursue courage, wisdom, justice, and moderation? Mm-hmm. You should pursue them because they either contribute to your happiness or they are constituent of your happiness. In other words, you can't be happy unless you have some of that.
Yeah.
And so you ought to develop the virtues, says the eudaimonist, the virtue ethicist, because they will make you happy. Mm. Now, this is not a utilitarian view, right? It's not a utilitarian view because it's seen to be the natural condition of the human being. If you live according to nature, you will develop these qualities and characteristics. Mm-hmm. Now this is getting a little bit Stoic. And when you develop these qualities and characteristics, irrespective of external troubles, you will be happy.
Yes.
So as you were mentioning ataraxia, right, that's the Epicurean notion.
Right.
The Stoic notion is apatheia, that you have no suffering, no feeling of suffering. Yeah. Yes, your leg is being, chewed off by a dog, or the fellow we mentioned last time who had a grizzly bear clamp down on his head.
Oh, that's right, that guy. Yeah.
But that fellow, nevertheless, was a moral, virtuously developed individual, and therefore the grizzly bear chomping on his skull did not detract from his happiness. Right.
But one of my favorite anecdotes from antiquity says that the true, getting off a little bit, the true Stoic could find happiness inside the bull of Phalaros, right? This kind of this metal bull that you could be placed inside and roasted alive. That doesn't matter. It's the kind of the internal cultivation of that apatheia.
That's right.
Right. It reminds me too. I think of some the distinction often in Christian thought, that distinction between happiness and joy.
Sure.
Right. Joy is something that is cultivated with your relationship to the divine. It's something that's something interior.
It's a state.
It's a state rather than just how I'm feeling emotionally in one particular moment.
Yeah.
Right. So because I think that word happy to me is
the contemporary connotation is so
different.
It's ephemeral, right? It's day to day, and it's shallow or thin.
Indeed, that's what.
So I used to make myself a big deal about the distinction between happiness and joy. Mm-hmm. I'm a little less convinced of it than I used to be.
Explain.
I just still go back and forth on this all the time. I'm wondering if it's just a convenient way for me to justify all kinds of discontentment. I can say, right, yeah, I've got the underlying joy, but on any particular day, at any particular moment, you're going to find me not happy.
Yeah.
So there has to be some relationship between the underlying status that we claim has objective reality.
Yes.
And I would say the phenotype, so to speak.
Yeah.
That evidences itself.
Yeah.
Imagine a person so ornery that they're never happy, but they're always joyful.
That doesn't quite work, does it? Yeah.
There's just something there I can't quite wrap my head around.
I think in some maybe defining joy, or even Socrates' notion of having a good daimon, is related to contentedness, right?
Right.
I think one of the remarkable things that the way that Socrates comes off in the Apology, whether it's historical or whether this is a pleasant Platonic fiction,
right?
The Socrates presented here is unbothered. right?
Yes.
He does not fly off the handle, and he's not pounding the table.
No, he has incredible self-control.
Yes, right. So he kind of displays that kind of that easy contentedness
Right.
when his very life is on the line.
Yeah, in the face of death, right near the end
Right.
of the dialogue, which we probably will get to in the next episode, when they ask, we'll just anticipate, when they ask, what penalty would you suggest?
Yes.
Right? You get to propose your own penalty.
Right.
And he says, well, I think that I should be able to dine in the state cafeteria for the rest of my life. I don't know whether he's just saying that tongue in cheek or if he's just poking the Athenian jury in the eye.
Right.
What does a man deserve who has done nothing but selflessly serve the state by trying to redirect all of its moral energies, right?
Right. Yeah. I know. It reminds me of. Have you heard or read any of these ideas that Socrates may have been what we call or had like Asperger's?
No, I haven't.
Or autistic.
What?
Right. Just in the way that he has no filter.
Okay.
Right. And even in the Apology, he talks about kind of going around to people who had these reputations for
Right.
wisdom and just
Right.
kind of just taking them down.
Yeah.
Right.
One at a time.
And he's almost like, why wouldn't these people be asking themselves these questions?
Exactly.
And so this idea that he doesn't have that kind of that social propriety
Right.
that we all kind of learn and cultivate. We're someone with Asperger's and autism.
We all learn and cultivate. Speak for yourself there. Michael.
Most of us, I
Right.
suppose.
We're supposed to.
And that his personality is perhaps reflective of someone who didn't really have that kind of filter or
Right.
or social niceties about
Yeah.
him. Right.
As I was rereading the translation here in the Reeve reader in preparation, I was struck by one of those small little details I hadn't noticed before, is that he went to one wise fellow, and after that guy proved not to know anything, he sought out someone who was a little bit wiser. So
Yes.
he was trying to move up the food chain,
Right.
so to speak. And the higher up he got, the worse it got.
Yes.
So
yeah, exactly.
It's really remarkable. Just one final comment here on Eudaimonist ethics from the Stanford Encyclopedia, and I think that'll set the stage nicely for the dialogue. Eudaimonia is avowedly a moralized or value-laden concept of happiness, something like true or real happiness or the sort of happiness worth seeking or having. It is thereby the sort of concept about which there can be substantial disagreement between people with different views about human life that cannot be resolved by appeal to some external standard on which, despite their different views, the parties to the disagreement concur.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where folks are left with this notion of, okay, if we adopt the idea that the purpose of human life is happiness,
Right.
and the virtues are part of that, none of us can agree about what actually makes a life happy. So how do you know when you've gotten it?
Right. Exactly. It often reminds me of discussions or debates about virtue and morality, and if you remove the notion of the divine from it, it in some ways the foundation drops out. Right.
Now, are you channeling this apologetics book you've been reading?
No, not at all. Actually,
Okay.
it's just something things that I think about, or in class, in my religions class, where a student will say, well, I don't think you need to believe in God to
Right.
be a good person, which leads to the obvious question: well, what do you mean by good?
Yeah.
Right. And who decides that? And what's the
Right.
foundation of that? And it can lead to a kind of aporia.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So
usually at that point, my common response is, well, how about you define it, right? I say to the student, well, you give us a definition, and stipulate what you believe the good is, and then we'll work with that.
Right.
But of course, nobody is able to do that in a thoroughly consistent fashion.
Right. And often, when I'm challenged by that, there is often this idea that, well, what is good is obvious, isn't it?
Right.
No.
Right.
Right. But
It's obvious what's bad often.
Yeah. But
Right?
what's
Harming others is bad. Stealing things from others, lying to people, picking on those who are weaker than you. Right. These things are obvious wrongs. I
Right.
think almost everyone believes that.
Right.
But what's good is maybe harder to
And even with
define.
those wrongs, if you press someone, well, okay, we recognize that, but why?
Right.
That can really
It's very difficult.
be very difficult to do.
That's right. So, Jeff, you said that your first introduction to Plato, you were entranced by the dramatic aspects, the literary aspects.
Yes, and also kind of the historical contextual aspects of it. Let me just say a bit about that, because if you drop into the Apology without kind of a notion of what's happening politically in Athens at the time, I think you miss a big chunk of the story. So 399 BC, Athens has recently, 5 years prior, has surrendered to the Spartans in the Peloponnesian War.
Yep.
They were being blockaded. Their navy was decimated. They were being starved out, and the Spartans dissolved the Athenian democracy and put in this group of rulers, which are referred to as the 30 tyrants.
Could we call that a cabal?
A cabal, definitely a cabal. Absolutely a cabal.
Yeah, I like that.
30 tyrants, and tyrants as they're remembered in history in the full sense of how we use that word today. It was a brutal time, and enemies were tracked down, dragged out, killed, and didn't last long.
You couldn't get Wi-Fi anywhere?
No way.
You'd show up at a coffee shop. Hey, can I get the Wi-Fi password? And
they say we have the password, but you can't have it.
No Wi-Fi for you, right? Or even worse, it has every other letter is uppercase, lowercase, and then you got splotch, splotch, exclamation point.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
Right, exactly. And people freaked out.
Right.
And so it was a short, brutal, terrifying time. And eventually the tyrants were run out.
Okay.
And the Athenian democracy was restored. And
by the Spartans.
By the Spartans, yes. So
we don't want to run the place.
Right, exactly. But fine, have it. And so the democracy is making a comeback. And that's what's happening while Socrates is put on trial. And so one of the arguments, one of the interpretations of what's happening in the Apology is that Plato presents this as his teacher is being persecuted for his beliefs. It's a moral question, whereas a historical approach might say, well, listen, there were first of all Plato, and then kind of by connection Socrates, not a fan of democracy, right? And Socrates had links to some of these 30 tyrants, in particular Critias, who was amongst who's remembered as the most brutal of them.
Yeah.
So some have thought that the charges of teaching new gods and corrupting the youth were kind of flimsy excuses to get rid of Socrates because of his connections to these anti-democratic tyrants.
Right. That's a very helpful summary, Jeff. Thank you.
So I don't know what to make it. That strikes me as kind of maybe a little bit conspiratorial, but I think
I'm down for it.
I'm down for it too.
The Denver airport.
The Denver airport?
Have you heard the things about the Denver airport?
No, there are conspiracies about it?
I really can't tell you, but look it up on your own.
I will do that.
Okay.
That was kind of the stuff that was fascinating me. But what drew you to the Apology?
I was just fascinated by the use of words and by argumentation.
Yeah.
Specifically, the introduction of the notion of the elenchus, right? So the verb elencho, epsilon, lambda, etc., means to refute. It means to ask a person a question and then to take apart or demolish their answer. So Socrates is always using the elenctic method. Right. Ask a person a question. What do you think about honesty? The person gives an answer of which they're very confident. But as you start to draw out the implications of their answer, a clever individual like Socrates can soon see all of the mutually incompatible ideas that are latent in that answer.
Yes.
And I just found this fascinating because it's a little bit competitive. It's a little bit agonistic. It requires quick thinking and careful articulation.
Yes.
And, if I had been alive at that time, I would have been a Socrates groupie 100%.
Which he talks about in the Apology.
Yes, he does.
Yes, right.
I just found this so fascinating. And I think it's because of my love for words and my, I guess, naive view, which I'm still trying to outgrow, that people say what they think. Right? And that what they say, connected to what they think, is indicative of how they see the world and its reality. I don't think that's actually true anymore.
Right.
You can't take people at face value.
Right.
In the words of George Costanza, who says what they're thinking, right? Who actually says what they really think?
Right, exactly. And in the words of Achilles, hateful to me is the man who says one thing and hides another in his heart.
That's
just
correct.
Show me who you are.
Yeah,
right?
So I like that Achillean, right, ideal that just speak plainly of what you really think.
Yes.
I guess there's got to be so much, I don't know, lubrication of human conversation and interaction. There's got to be a certain substratum of dishonesty to keep society moving.
I guess so. I think that in some ways that's universal. As you're speaking, it makes me think of recent things like cancel culture.
Right.
You have to be careful what you say in front of who you say
Yes.
it, right? Or virtue signaling. You say something to make you appear one
Right.
way, but that's not who you really are.
No.
And I don't think that's a new thing.
No,
I
it
think
isn't.
That's
Maybe it's newly identified and it's given. I mean, maybe the type of identification it's received is a little bit novel.
Right.
Certainly, there's different terminology, but it's extremely old.
right. And I wonder if that, in 399 BC or kind of coming out of the era of the tyrants, where I imagine it was an era where certain people had to be very careful of the things that they
Sure.
were saying, right? And compare that to, one of the things that I find fascinating and that I love about 5th century BC is like aristophanes comedy, where it does seem to be free speech is given a long leash.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
The comedian can say whatever he wants
Right.
in the theater.
It's partly because they had this wonderful feature of society called ostracism.
yeah,
Right?
right.
We all know who we like.
Yeah.
There are certain popular people, but what about the least popular person? Wouldn't it be nice to get rid of them?
Right.
Imagine if you and I, right, tried to, I don't know, purge the ranks of the podcast hosting a little bit.
Yeah.
You'd get 2 votes, and I'd probably get 2 votes, right, as to who to vote off the island, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly, right.
They had ostracism, which is a nice safety valve
Yes.
for this kind of free speech.
And it was also temporary. You go away for 10 years,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't we're going to go throw you off a cliff.
Right. You can come back.
You can come back, right?
Give you some time to think about it.
Right. See, I was just in Athens a couple of months ago, and
Right.
you remember in the museum
Yes.
of the Agora,
The shards.
all
ostraca.
the shards with all the names of these men and their
So many
patronyms.
Themistocleses. Right?
So many Themistocles, right? Exactly.
So many Aristides.
Yes.
So the elenchus, you just go from person to person asking them questions and drawing out the deep inconsistencies. How do people live with such inconsistencies in their thought?
Yeah.
Then revealed in how they speak.
Right.
So I was just fascinated by that. It requires, as Socrates will say, not in this dialogue, but he develops it in other dialogues, it requires that the individual, the interlocutor, the person to whom you're speaking, is honest.
Yeah.
So perhaps the most powerful interlocutor in the Platonic corpus is the individual Callicles in Gorgias. Because Callicles, the young lion, he just says whatever he thinks.
Yes.
If you're stronger and better, you should be in charge.
Yes.
And that's all he has to say about it.
Yeah.
So Socrates is always looking for the honest interlocutor, someone who'll just plainly state what they think, and it's very hard for him to find such a person.
Right. Well, I think it's hard to find those people today.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think that and often, like in pop culture, I find myself drawn to people who just kind of say what they feel.
That's why you like all these comedians.
Right. But I think that but attendant to that is the fact is that you have to reach a level of fame and cachet to be able to do that.
Or you have to be willing to live with the really destructive consequences.
Right.
If you reach a certain level of cachet and notoriety, there won't be consequences.
That's what I'm saying.
But
right.
Further down the scale, it could end your career. It could end your life in terms of any prospects.
Yes. Right.
Speaking of ending careers and prospects, it's time for the ads.
All right.
This episode is brought to you by the good folks at Hackett Publishing. Hackett, with offices in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Indianapolis, Indiana, have been bringing a wide array of excellent classics to the people for how many years, Jeff?
54 years.
That's incredible.
Amazing. Yep.
Now, let's say people want to read some philosophy. What should they do?
They should go to hackettpublishing.com. That's HACKETT publishing.com. Scan through their amazing catalog. You'll find works from all across the many subsets of the classics, but from different areas of academia, Islamic studies, philosophy, Chinese, Asian studies. It's all there.
That's right. And in fact, coming up in September, Hackett is going to be releasing a major new work in philosophy, Aristotle, the complete works, edited by Reeve and Pavlos Kontos. We're going to be giving away a copy of this as well. A lovely tote bag comes along with it. It's Smith sewn in a nice case. Wonderful stuff.
Fantastic. Yeah, I can't wait for that.
That's right.
Yes, I love Hackett Publishing. I've used their text so many times in my classroom, and I have a number of their works on the shelf. So do yourself a favor. Check out hackettpublishing.com. Find the works that you want. Put them in the grocery satchel. And if you use this coupon code, Dave, what is it?
It's AN2025 ad nauseum and the current year.
Yes.
HACKETT. What do they get, Jeff?
They get 20% off your entire order and free shipping.
Check it out. This episode of Ad Nauseum is also brought to you by a wonderful Tucson-based painter, our friend Della Chelpka. Are you ready for art, Jeff?
I am, always.
Art that truly speaks to your story?
Of course.
Okay, meet Della, a Tucson-based oil painter who captures the people, places, and moments you cherish with breathtaking detail. Can you cherish, Jeff, a sunset?
I can.
A saguaro cactus?
Of course.
Maybe a still life?
Yes.
All right. Then go to dellachelpka.art, DELLACHELPKA.art to find your inspiration. And Jeff, when they go there and find their inspiration, what do they want to do?
They want to put it in this coupon code.
Okay.
Apelles.
What?
APELLES.
Who was Apelles?
The name of perhaps the most famous painter in Greco-Roman antiquity.
Wow.
Yep.
And when they do that, what will they get as their ad nauseum discount?
They will get 10% off their entire order.
That's incredible. Check that out.
This episode is also brought to you by Ratio Coffee.
Ratio?
If you want to up your coffee game, listeners, do yourself a favor and go to ratiocoffee.com. That's RATIO coffee.com. And slash ad nauseum.
That's right.
Right. And check out these incredible machines.
Yes.
I have the 8. You have the 8.
And the 4.
And the 4. I have the 4 as well. I used to have the 6.
You have the 6.
So I've tried all of these machines.
Numbers are going all over the place.
Right. But these are amazing machines.
Yes.
They're not cheap.
No.
If you're looking for the bargain basement, this is not it.
Gritty plastic.
No.
Dack and Blecker. Senior coffee.
But if you want high quality coffee from your countertop every single morning, this is the way to go.
Okay.
Right. So this
no
morning,
brackish tang?
No brackish tang.
Okay.
It's very simple.
No scorch pad?
Nothing like that, Dave. You just press the button and the water comes down through your grounds and into the carafe.
A hulking flagon?
A hulking flagon, which will keep it warm for hours. No need for the roasting.
No Kindle brick
nothing underneath that.
Have I hit all the catchphrases?
I think you have.
All right.
Well done.
Fibonacci.
Hey, if you want one of these, ratiocoffee.com/ad nauseum. And Dave, if they enter this code,
ANRatio, ANRATIO 2025.
Yes.
They're going to get $20 off their entire order. And you're going to want to check this out because it will make your morning ritual so much better.
Indeed.
Okay, Jeff, as we resume then, we
Yes.
have set the stage with the politics and what it means a little bit to be someone practicing the elenchus with interlocutors.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive right into the dialogue itself.
Right. So Socrates is on trial,
Right.
And he's been accused of, famously in Plato's Apology, of two things. He's been accused of teaching new gods
Right.
and of corrupting the youth.
That's correct.
And so here the apology is made up of Socrates' personal defense speech
Correct.
In answering these charges. So
Absolutely.
you want to start us off with the translation here?
I'd like to read some Greek.
It's been a while since we read some Greek. Yeah, so please.
So I'm reading the Apologia Socratus, and this is the very beginning. I'll just read the first lovely sentence. Hoti men humes, o Andres Athenaioi, pepanthe hupat ton emon kategaron, uk oida. Ego de un kaiautos hupauton oligu emautu epelathomen huto pithanos elagon.
Nicely done.
Oh,
It's been a while. It's been a while since I've heard some Greek read.
thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
I can tell you're just brimming with sincerity.
Come on, take
All
it.
right.
Yes, believe me. Believe what I say is what
Okay.
what I'm actually thinking.
All right. Can you give us the translation?
Yes. I don't know, men of Athens, how you were affected by my accusers. As for me, I was almost carried away by them. They spoke so persuasively. So already he's got a bit of an edge to him, right?
Yeah, I love the way that this is put here. When he says, epilathomen oligo emautu, I almost forgot who I am.
Yeah, that's right.
Wait a minute.
So I'm almost ready to vote against myself.
Exactly.
Right.
So Plato is a superb stylist.
Yes.
This doesn't come across in the English translation so much. He is just an excellent writer with so much idiomacy of expression. He captures the characters. It's funny. The sentences are beautiful. The word choice is phenomenal.
Yes. Yeah.
You can still enjoy it in English, but when you read it in Greek, as we've been able to, it's just much more compelling.
There's that extra layers. Yes.
That's right. So he goes on from there.
Yes, and yet almost nothing they said is true. Among their many falsehoods, however, one especially amazed me, that you must be careful not to be deceived by me, since I am a dangerously clever speaker, that they aren't ashamed at being immediately refuted by the facts once it becomes apparent that I'm not a clever speaker at all. That seems to be most shameless of them. Unless, of course, the one they call clever is the one who tells the truth.
Yes. So he's already going to redefine what it means to be a clever speaker,
Yes.
to be denos legein, right? Clever at speaking, because the backdrop is the sophists.
Yes.
People like Gorgias of Leontini, who came to Athens, I think, 427. Leontini's in Sicily. We talked about him on a previous episode. We'd like to send the listeners back to that one. I think the title was "How Many Ships Can Your Face Launch?"
Oh, yeah.
Was Gorgias's Encomium of Helen.
That's right. Yeah.
Right, you did a little beatboxing at the end.
Did I really?
Yeah, when I was reading some of the Greek. So Gorgias, I don't remember the number, but Gorgias says nothing exists. That's his first claim. If it exists, you can't know what it is. That's the second claim. If it exists and you can know what it is, you can't possibly communicate it. That's the third claim.
Yeah.
So Gorgias, the sophist, has this backdrop of a radical subjectivity, a kind of a relativism. Nothing is true. You can't know it if there is anything true, and you can't communicate it if you know it.
Yes.
And so against that backdrop now, Socrates says, I'm not a clever speaker, no matter what my opponents say, unless you want to define cleverness as
Speaking the truth.
speaking the truth.
Right. So, and one of the things that Socrates is concerned with in this speech is that he's being lumped in with all of these other groups that he doesn't belong to, right? And so, the sophists, famous not only for the kinds of arguments you were just saying, but they also did it for pay, right?
Yeah.
And they traveled around and
For a large amount of pay.
right? And audiences delighted in the way that they could kind of decimate opponents and reduce things to absurdities.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And he also talks
reductio.
about how he's lumped in with some of these what we now call pre-Socratic philosophers,
Yes.
scientists, right?
Right.
And
Anaxagoras of Clazomene,
right.
whose famous claim was the Earth is probably larger than the Peloponnese. I'm sorry, the Sun is probably larger than the Peloponnese.
Yeah.
And now that seems ridiculous to us, right? Because how many millions of Earths can fit into the Sun,
Right.
something like that. But he was closer to the truth than any of his contemporaries.
Exactly.
Because they could just hold their fist up to the sun and say, "See,
Look, not so big.
it's pretty small."
Right. Yeah, and so Socrates is he's concerned with being misrepresented. And he talks about how he goes, I'm a character that shows up in these comic plays, and people see those plays and they think that's who I am.
Yeah.
Right.
And as you already mentioned, there's Aristophanes' famous comedy, The Clouds. And in there, we see Socrates seated in his thinkery, the frontisterion.
Right.
And one of the things he claims to do is to turn a weak argument into a strong argument.
Right. So the protagonist in that play is going to the thinkery,
Right.
to learn this skill so he can get out of his gambling debts.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think that he doesn't make the weaker argument the stronger. So that charge, which is a part of the charge of corrupting the youth. How do you corrupt the youth? You teach them how to take a weak argument and make it into a strong one. So
Yes.
I don't think Socrates is corrupting the youth, but on the charge of teaching strange gods, I think he's guilty.
Okay.
For sure.
All right.
Because as we already know from the Euthyphro, and what is a common theme on this podcast, Homeric religion, Homeric theology, and Platonic religion are two extremely different things.
Indeed, yes.
Because Plato insists on a kind of moral consistency in the lives of Zeus and other individuals. And in Homer, These are not moral persons.
Yes. As I was reading this last night, it also struck me, maybe not intentionally funny, is that Socrates, he will often use this phrase, by the dog.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost sacrilegious.
It is
in a way, right?
It's like swearing by a coffee cup.
Right.
Coffee cup.
But then later, when he's dealing specifically with these charges, these religious charges, he's got by Heros and by Zeuses all over the place.
Yes, he does adopt conventional language.
Yes.
Just as a side note, I was thinking about a potential enterprise. I know you like to go to the gym and work out. I assume you were there multiple times this week.
Oh, multiple.
I think a good name for a gym would be Weaker Argument.
Weaker Argument?
Yeah, because you come out of there stronger, right?
See, I gotcha.
You go in and they make you stronger, and
right.
Think it'll sell?
I think it could take over Planet Fitness' market share very quickly. Yeah,
it's possible. Socrates then goes on to talk about how he is in fact going to speak in the course of his trial. And he says, "Indeed, men of Athens, this I positively entreat of you, if you hear me making my defense, using the same sort of language I'm accustomed to use, both in the marketplace, next to the bankers' tables, where many of you have heard me, and also in other places, please don't be surprised or create an uproar on that account." Now, throughout the rest of the dialogue, Jeff, there are many places where Socrates says, me boate, which, as you know, is the me with a negative imperative. Mm-hmm. And this is because the jury and the audience is booing him.
Yeah.
Right? So the Greek word boao means to boo, to say bo.
Yeah,
and to complain. So he's trying to kind of quiet them down. Don't make a ruckus. I know what I'm about to say is unusual, but hear me out.
Right.
But what does the text have to say specifically, Jeff, about the charges and what Socrates is up against?
Right. So Socrates himself quotes these charges.
Okay.
And he says, again, about himself, Socrates commits injustice and is a busybody. Oh, you can be taken to court just for being a busybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
In that, he investigates the things beneath the earth and in the heavens, makes the weaker argument the stronger, and teaches these things to others.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So in doing so, you can see kind of the notion of investigating the things beneath the earth and the heavens is kind of a denial of the gods in a way.
Right.
And then teaching these things to others is corrupting the youth.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's the very spot. This is Stephanus page 19C. We can talk about Stephanus pages maybe in the next episode, where he brings up the character of Aristophanes and the clouds and so forth.
Yes.
And he mentions a number of these sophists, namely Gorgias of Leontini, Prodicus of Chios, and Hippias of Elis. So he says it's a case of mistaken identity.
Yes.
I don't do these kinds of things. You've got the wrong guy. These are the sophists and maybe those fellows who like to talk about meteorology, stars and constellations and so forth.
Right. It raises a question. I think that I remember wondering about this the first time I encountered this. Is okay, Socrates is doing this. These other guys are doing this. Why does Miletus care so much? Like, why is this such a big deal that Socrates is being dragged into court and held up as an example when there's clearly so many other people doing this kind of thing? And what is it about Socrates that brought it to this kind of flashpoint?
Well, it could be that he's more successful than the sophists in exposing people's inconsistencies. It could be that the sophists are jealous because they're trying to protect their turf, right? They charge exorbitant amounts of money for this kind of elite training, and Socrates is saying it's all nonsense.
Yeah.
These people are inconsistent in their presentation of the truth. They don't even know what the truth is.
Right.
They're selling a bogus product.
Yeah, and I think it also opens the door for those more political arguments as well, right? If Socrates is, quote unquote, corrupting the youth, the people who are desperately trying to prevent another group of tyrants coming in and preserving this fragile democracy that's just been revived, is that, well, Socrates needs to go.
Right.
He needs to be eliminated because otherwise we're just looking at another kind of turn of the wheel.
Ride him out of town on a rail.
Yes.
Bottom of page 23, Socrates says, this is Stephanus 20a. Since we're on that topic, sophists, I heard that there's another wise gentleman here at present from Paros, for I happen to run into a man who has spent more money on sophists than everyone else put together.
Man.
Callias, the son of Hipponicus. What does the footnote tell us?
Callias was one of the richest men in Greece and a patron of the Sophists. Plato's Protagoras is set in his house.
Nice.
Okay.
So I questioned him, says Socrates, since he has 2 sons himself. Now here in the Apology, Jeff, he's giving us a little bit of a kind of a story within a story, right?
Yes.
It's a way for Plato to very cleverly say, although this is the defense speech of Socrates, I'm going to show you a little bit of what Socrates typically did in his average day-to-day philosophizing.
Yep.
So page 24. Callias, I said, if your 2 sons had been born colts or calves, we could engage and pay a knowledgeable supervisor, one of those expert horse breeders or farmers, who could turn them into fine and good examples of their proper virtue or excellence. But now, seeing that they're human beings, whom do you have in mind to engage as a supervisor? Who is it that has the knowledge of this virtue, the virtue of human beings and of citizens? I assume you've investigated the matter because you have 2 sons. Is there such a person, I asked, or not? I love this question, Jeff, because it is so deceptively simple. People have kids all the time, right? They give more thought and attention, many of us, to how to care for their vehicle, right?
Yeah.
I can't put tires like that on my car, right? You don't put that kind of windshield washer fluid in, or that. I don't know, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
They're very, very intent about those things. But how to raise a child properly?
Yeah.
For many of us, it's just like an afterthought. It just kind of happens.
Right.
And I think this is what Socrates is capturing here. You'd think an argument from the lesser to the greater, right? From calves to children. You'd be much more careful about how to raise your kids.
Yeah.
Who's the expert?
Right. I mean, this is something that Socrates does a lot. He often will use kind of examples from nature, right?
Yes.
And as a way of kind of distinguishing between animal and human. Aristotle, of course, laid out too, very interested in kind of what makes the human animal distinct.
Exactly.
Right. And
that it's rational, that it's sociable.
Exactly. And so I see that, here as well. But
he also loves the. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I love that that picture that you just painted. Is that we're often much more concerned about
right
about. And I think it kind of comes down to I can control that. My children are such a wild card nature.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. But you're right.
To the extent that people think about it, that's probably the conclusion they reach. But a lot of these really serious things, we're sort of on autopilot, I would say.
I think it's very true.
By habit, or what we saw in our own parents. I also love the real strong reply that we get here from Callias.
Right.
He's so confident.
Right. So when Socrates asks him, is there such a person or not? What does Callias say?
Well, he says panuge, right?
Panuge, yeah.
Panuge, certainly, of course, duh.
There's a guy.
Yeah, there's a guy. Would I raise my own sons, my 2 fine kids?
No way.
And not have someone? I got a guy.
Right.
What else does he say?
Well, and then Socrates responds, well, who is he? And Callias says, his name is Evenus, Socrates, from Paros. He charges 5 minas.
Oh, wow.
And I love the footnote here, too. It says, Evenus is described as a poet and as an orator. A few fragments of his stuff survives. A drachma was a day's pay for someone engaged in public works. A mina was 100 silver drachmas.
Wow. So 100 days labor.
Yes. So, and then 5 of them.
Like 3 months' wages.
Well, he's paying him 5 minas, right? So that's 500 drachmas.
Oh, wow.
That's 500 days.
So a year's salary.
A year plus.
Yeah. So you got 80 to 100,000 or 60 to $100,000.
Yes.
To train your kids.
Your 2 kids. That's an expensive
It's like sending
tutor.
them to college.
Yeah. It's actually cheaper.
It's probably a little bit cheaper.
Can I get in touch with the Venice? It sounds like a deal.
Yeah. Okay. So, to continue, I thought Evenus blessedly happy if he truly did possess that expertise and taught it for so modest a fee.
So Socrates thinks it's a bargain.
Well, it is a bargain if you can turn young people into virtuous citizens,
right? If you can do
for
that.
$100,000.
Yeah.
I, at any rate, would pride myself and give myself airs if I had knowledge of those things. But in fact, men of Athens, I don't know them. Now, perhaps one of you will interject. You want to pick it up here?
Yes. But Socrates, what then is your occupation? What has given rise to these slanders against you? Surely if you weren't in fact occupied with something out of the ordinary, if you weren't doing something different from most people, all this rumor and talk wouldn't have arisen. Tell us then what it is so that we don't judge you hastily. Right, so that kind of gets around to what we were talking about.
Right.
What is it about Socrates that brings him in when it seems that there's a lot of people doing kind of the same kinds of things.
That's right.
Yeah.
And just to anticipate where we're going in the next episode, because time's winding down on us, he says, "You see, men of Athens, I've acquired this reputation because of nothing other than a sort of wisdom." What sort of wisdom, you ask, is that? The very sort, perhaps, that is human wisdom. For it may just be that I really do have that sort of wisdom, whereas the people I mentioned just now may, perhaps, be wise because they possess superhuman wisdom. I don't know what else to call it, since I myself certainly don't possess that knowledge, and whoever says I do is lying and speaking in order to slander me. And this sets up where it's going next, which is the famous visit of the now deceased Chaerephon.
Yes.
Right? Chaerephon, a friend of Socrates, who went to Delphi and asked the oracle.
Is there anyone wiser than Socrates?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Who is the wisest guy? And the surprising answer that comes back is Socrates of Athens.
Yep. Nope. Nobody's wiser.
That's right. Yep. Well, Jeff, I think that's a good place to put a pin in this one, as they say.
Yes.
And of course, we actually have to get out of here, don't we?
Wait, is there somebody pounding on the doors
There
again?
is someone pounding on the door. It is the representatives of the De Beers group.
The De Beers?
You know the De Beers, the South African British corporation that specializes in the diamond industry?
Why are they upset?
Well, you'll just have to listen to the episode, I guess, to find out.
Ah, okay. All right.
Could be a bad pun. I think it was your idea.
Yeah, okay. I see where you're going with this,
Okay.
right? Okay, I can understand there.
The De Beers want in here.
Yeah.
They mine, they explore, they retail, they inscribe, they grade, they trade. Industrial diamond manufacturing. And these people, they're powerful people.
Yes.
They want to get in here because they feel like we have intruded on their territory
Okay.
with our titling of this episode.
All right.
Don't mess with such a powerful monopoly.
All right. Okay. Well, I will step aside. Dave, we promised
Yes.
there's a giveaway.
Yes,
right?
there is a
And so
giveaway.
what's the secret word?
I just wanted to add one more thing.
Yes.
And that the De Beers have many facets, so you got to be careful. The giveaway is this. If you want to get a copy of this fantastic work, A Plato Reader from Hackett, then you need to send an email, and you need to include in the subject line the word Plato.
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 That's it.
Plato. Easy to spell. Send it to dave@adnauseam.com.
Don't forget that V.
That's right. Subject heading Plato, and you will be entered in the drawing for a free copy of this fantastic book.
Fantastic. Now, hey, Dave, what if there are a lot of people out there like Caitlin
Right.
who want to learn some Greek or they want
yeah.
to learn some Latin?
Right.
You can help them. Tell them how to do it.
They need to go to latinperdiem.com. They need to check out the Greek courses. I have Moss modules 1 through 3, and they will take you from...
Neophyte to erudite.
That's correct. I've taken the last 30 years of my study and teaching of Latin, including a lot of Plato, and put it into this course. And I just today got a question from a student. Dr. Noe, I'm enjoying Moss a lot. I want to read Plato and Aristotle. What should I do? I said, continue in Moss.
Yes.
By the time you get to the end of the second module, you'll be reading some adapted Plato and Aristotle, in addition to being able to read the New Testament.
Yep.
And you can't go wrong. If you go to the website, see something you like, enter this coupon code 10+10PLUS, get 10% off anything.
Yes.
Jeff, whom do we need to thank?
As always, Mishka, our wonderful engineer, who puts this together so quickly. Great turnarounds, makes us sound better than we are.
Absolutely.
And then also this wonderful guitarist, Jeff Sheets.
Yeah.
His
Kansas City fellow?
Yeah, man, that guy can play.
That's right.
He's the fingers behind what you hear throughout the episode, the beginning and the bumper music. And
Right. We got some new bumper music. Yep. So the intro and outro is his great piece, Thrill Seeker, the thrill of studying literature.
Yes.
And the bumper music is Rush Hour.
Yes. That is, and having listened to it, that's a
Apropos?
very aptly named. Yes.
All right. So, Jeff, if they want to subscribe, leave a review, what should they do?
They can write to you, Dave at adnauseam.com. Don't forget the V.
Or Jeff at adnauseam.com. Don't forget the V. If you could like us on Spotify or Apple iTunes, some platform like that, leave a review. We'd be so grateful.
Yes.
You want to get a shout out like lovely Caitlin did, send an email and we'll take care of that.
Absolutely. And Dave, so next week we will be continuing our look at the apology.
That's right.
Yep.
Could wrap this up in 2 episodes, maybe stretch it into a third.
We'll see.
It's been so much fun.
It is. It's been
just
great.
This last one.
Yeah.
To talk about these things.
Yeah.
Can't miss.
Yep. And I believe, Dave, you have our gustatory parting shot.
Yes, I do. And this one comes from one Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, I've heard of that guy.
American statesman, 1706 was when he was born. In 1790, he died just a couple years after the Constitution was finished. Franklin, not a great fan.
You're not a fan of Franklin?
Not a great fan of Franklin. I read a wonderful biography from my friend D.G. Hart on Ben Franklin. Interesting guy, but generally not a fan. And this gustatory parting shot, also not a fan. I don't really get it, but I'd like to hear what you think about what Franklin says here.
Yeah.
He says, the discovery of a wine is a greater moment than the discovery of a constellation. The universe is too full of stars. Too full of stars.
Too full of stars, right? Yeah. Maybe if I was a massive wine connoisseur, I'd agree with this, but I'm not. And so
you're more of a star-assour.
I'm a star-assour.
Okay.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks.